for English 10, you're going to write a formal speech. It's like as if you were at your best friend's wedding. So it's like a speech that a bridesmaid would make or a groomsman or whatever at a wedding. So it can be funny, it's going to include probably a little bit of a story, but you have to follow the writing format that's kind of outlined for you. So this video you should watch. It's actually me describing each part of the speech. So if you miss anything in this lesson, go back and watch this because it does describe it and kind of tell you, and it gives you an example of a speech I wrote, actually, for not the exact speech, but a speech based on somebody I know, or my best friend, actually. So this is the outline of your speech, and in all of your English courses at Graduation Alliance, we follow the same writing format, so we use the same terms. So I'm going to review those, and if at any point you already know the terms and it's just like redundant, then just please interrupt me. But I think it's a good review. So this is called a hook, this is a hook. Lulu, do you have any idea of what you think a hook might be? And you can unmute yourself if you want.
The title?
Close. Yeah, because you might think it's the title because it's the first part of the essay, but a
introduction?
Hook, close. It's part of the introduction. So a hook is used to describe, like, to get the audience's attention. So whether it's a reader or somebody actually in the physical audience of the speech, trying to get their attention. So a hook is going to be something that's startling, like really funny, a really funny story. If you're doing like an informative essay, it would be like a startling statistic. It can be a question. I'm trying to think of what I used for my hook with the speech, with the example speech. Let me, that's my own voice. Ignore that. I can't remember if I gave an example of a hook. I didn't. Okay, so let's just come up with one off the top of our heads. Have you ever, oh man, have you ever been pulled over by the police and then escorted back home only to find out that your friend didn't have a driver's license? I don't know, something like that. Like it could be like a quick like snippet of a story. It can also be like, have you ever had a friend who was there for you in the best of times and the worst of times? I don't know, whatever. But it could be just like a question that's going to kind of get the reader's attention. And then I'm going to skip bridge for right now, and I'm just going to go to the thesis. So then a thesis is like the main idea of your essay. And this one is already given to you because this is going to be the main idea of this speech. My best friend has many lovely qualities, but I'm only going to share with you 2 of his or her best. So the thesis is the main idea of your essay. It's what your essay is all about. So we know what the speech is going to be about. It's going to be about qualities of your best friend, right? Like as if you were speaking it at a wedding. And then the bridge kind of just transitions to the thesis. So if you said like a funny story, like, and there I was being escorted home because my best friend didn't have a driver's license, or whatever. And then you would have like a bridge that would be like, and that's when we became best friends. And then your thesis would be, my best friend has many lovely qualities. So it's just kind of like a transitioning sentence. And all of these, you can see the heading here. This is in your introduction. So this is 1 paragraph. Your final speech is going to be 4 paragraphs long. So this is 1 paragraph, your introduction. Then the next paragraph, and this is called a body paragraph. It's part of your speech. It's not the introduction, but it's the first body paragraph. So that's why it's called first there, because it's not the introduction, but it's the first body paragraph. And then this is the format you follow for your first body paragraph. And it's also the same format you follow for your second body paragraph. The topic sentence has been started for you, so you just kind of have to fill it in. One of her best qualities is, and so if you're thinking of a best friend, her best quality is her kindness or her humor. I think I wrote about humor with mine. But then you say, okay, her best quality is her humor, and then the concrete details. Concrete detail is a term just used to usually like a fact or a specific example. And for this speech, it'll be like a story example. So you can tell like a quick story about how she's funny or how he's funny or whatever it might be. And then you can have another example of the humor in this person from a story. And then you're going to have commentary. So this would be like the opinion on your story. And I'm trying to think if I don't listen to my voice. Okay. See if I gave an example. I think I did. Thought I did. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't. Okay, so let me see if I can, because I want it to be clear to you. Let me see if I think I might have English 10 semester 2. Oh, I have it. Oh, okay. So yeah, I wrote this about my friend. So here's my example, and I can walk you through this because that'll make it a little bit easier. I'm going to zoom this in. Okay, so I talked about a hook, and a hook is going to engage the audience, like interest them, right? So my hook was, Kirsty and I have had some memories navigating our way through adolescence. Some were embarrassing, like the time Kirsty and I decided to throw shot put instead of run track. Others were just plain stupid, like when Kirsty decided to run a marathon without training. The bridge is going to transition to the thesis. So all in all, she's made these memories with me because she's a great friend. My dear best friend has many lovely qualities, but I'm only going to explain a few. And so that was the thesis that was given for the speech. All right, then your first body paragraph, and please interrupt me if I'm going too fast or you're confused. Then your first body paragraph is, one of her best qualities is her ability to cultivate long-term friendships. So this would be my story examples. Kirsty and I have known each other since grade school, where she first introduced herself to me as a cat and continued to tell me she was raised by cats. Okay, that's a true story. She told me she was a cat. All right, then another story example. On into adulthood, we've kept in touch. I've traveled to visit her in Switzerland, and even traveled the cobblestone streets of Germany together. All right, so this is another story showing that we're still friends, even though we don't even live close to each other. We don't even live in the same country. Commentary, which is your opinion on it. So that trip included many wrong turns, getting lost, and frustrating conversations in German, but we still remained friends. So this is just kind of your own opinion on that story and like maybe how your friendship continued. And then your concluding sentence is going to sum up the main point of your body paragraph, which was her ability to cultivate long-term friendships. Kirsty has a great ability to cultivate friendship, which will serve her well in her marriage. All right, then your second body paragraph. And the next topic is the same thing. It's the same topic sentence, but it's a different topic. So this one I chose humor. Okay, so and then you have to tell like a quick little story example as a concrete detail. There are too many times Kirsty and I have laughed ourselves out of situations. One time in high school, we were skipping class with stolen waders from the physics lab. Every teacher we came across, we told them we were doing research on deciduous forests and needed to test the acidity of the water. It worked. All right, so this is a funny story about how we were skipping class. It's also ironic was that I became a teacher. But then another example is we also did not take track very seriously, and we would routinely run to Kirsty's house on the days we were supposed to do a long run and eat the pie that Kirsty's mom had baked. We then would run back to track practice. Okay, another example of her humor instead of practicing. It actually sounds kind of like more like we didn't mind getting in trouble. But anyways, we would run Yeah, run to Kirsty's house and eat the pie that her mom had made. Okay, then my opinion on that scenario. The joke was on us one day when we had to do sprints and 400 repeats after eating lemon meringue pie. The concluding sentence is, and this is going to sum up your main idea, her sense of humor. Kirsty will always laugh her way through life and will be a great companion in marriage. Okay, and I'm tying that back because this is like a speech at her wedding, right? And then your conclusion is made up of a thesis restatement, a bridge, and a memorable idea. So Kirsty has many great qualities. As shown through these stories, she will be your best friend while simultaneously laughing at you and herself. A bridge is a transition into the memorable idea. And a memorable idea is just kind of a way that readers, it's the last line in your speech, so you want it to be memorable, right? You want your audience or your readers to really remember what you wrote, remember what you said. So it kind of has to be creative. A memorable idea is often kind of like a hook because it has to be kind of creative and it can't just be like lame. So it says, P.S. If you ever want to run a marathon without training for it, Kirsty will gladly be your companion. And so this also kind of ties back into the hook because I mentioned that in the hook that she decided to run a marathon without training. Okay. Maybe unmute Lulu if you want to unmute yourself and if you have any questions. And you can see this format here is exactly what I followed. So your final essay is going to be, final speech is going to be 4 paragraphs long.
That's a lot.
4 paragraphs?
I hate writing. That's why I said that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, Lulu, the way I think about it when I have to write and I don't want to, and especially for this one, you're really telling stories. So, I mean, you know, like if you're sitting with your friends and you're like, you won't believe this, but so-and-so, you know, like you're telling them a story. And so think of it kind of like that because people listen to stories more than they listen to anything else anyways. So if you can't think of anything to write or you're really like having a block, try to think in the way you would tell your friends, you know, like you would tell that funny story or whatever. That's what helps me when I have to write and I'm like not feeling it. I try to tell a story. Obviously it doesn't work for all essays because some essays you can't tell a story. It's informative. So, but for this one you really can. So if you can think of like, you know, 2 major stories about your best friend or about a really good friend, and boom, that's going to be your first body paragraph. That's going to be your second body paragraph. Just those 2 funny stories. It doesn't have to be funny. It can be very kind stories too. If that makes sense. So then, so you also want to review, and Lulu, you want to also review the rubric. And I'm not sure if you are familiar with the term rubric, but rubric means a way that you'll be graded. So it's important to look at the rubric for a couple reasons. 1, so you know how you'll be graded, so you can get the best score that you want or could possibly get. And 2, so that you can hold your teacher accountable. You know, like if you get a lower score and you're like, well, I worked really hard on that and I don't think I should get that score, you know, and you paid attention to the rubric, you can email your teacher and just say, hey, like, I think I should get a higher score, you know, because I met in all of these categories or whatever. So it's a really good way to like advocate for yourself. Okay. If that makes sense, Lulu.
You are my teacher, but yes.
Yes, which is good. Yeah, which is good. So if you ever feel like a grade that I gave you wasn't fair, like email me and say, and talk about the rubric because, you know, teachers are following that rubric. So it's also just good practice because you want to advocate for yourself. You want to advocate for the grades you get, and you want to stick up for yourself. And if you think you deserve a higher grade, then ask your teacher why. So anyways, you want to look at the rubric. And so if you look at the top, this means exceeds. So exceeds is like an A or above, like an A, like 90% and above. A meets is around like 70%. So like you met all the categories, but you didn't go above and beyond. And then does not meet, and I like to say does not meet yet because you can always try again, is like a 60% or below. So you want to try to be obviously aiming for the meets or the exceeds. Now, you want to try to be aiming for a meets if you know you don't have that much time. It honestly comes down to time. So if you think you don't have that much time, then aim for a meets. If you think you want to get an A in this class and you have more time to give, and your GPA really, really matters to you, then go for an exceeds every single time, right? But you kind of, I always like view things as a trade-off. Like you either, you know, you have to get clear on your own goals and what you want from the class. And do you want that the GPA that's all A's? Then go for the exceeds. Do you want to finish the course? Then go for the meets. So, I mean, finish the course in a timely manner, I guess. Then go for the meets. So with that said, and there's nothing wrong with any, like I said, I feel like life is kind of a series of trade-offs. Like you have some time for this, you have lots of time for this, you have priorities in this, whatever it may be. And because you have children too, you know, it's constantly a trade-off. And I can speak from experience on that. So then you want to go ahead and read through. So format is followed. So that the format means, did you include all of these? Do you have 4 paragraphs? Did you include a topic sentence? Do you have a concluding sentence? Do you have a thesis restatement? Like all of this needs to be followed to just meet. So if you turned in an essay with just 2 paragraphs, you're not going to get a meets in that category because it's incomplete. So this is part of 6 traits writing, but it's called voice. And it's like your individual voice. Like, can I tell that you wrote it? It's not like a cookie cutter essay that you just wrote quickly to get through the assignment, right? Obvious that it fits like for a wedding ceremony. It's not like, you know, it fits for the task and it fits for the purpose. And then conventions. So conventions just means punctuation, grammar, spelling. So did you turn in something that had obviously been revised, or did you turn in something that you basically just typed up on your cell phone? There's tons of spelling errors all over it, and your teacher struggled to even understand it because there was so much punctuation and grammar issues. So you want to make sure any writing assignment, this is usually the meets. There's 1 to 2 distracting errors. And so you want to make sure that you're revising it. And even as an English teacher, if I'm going to be writing something, I usually have somebody else read it before I turn it in. That's just kind of a best practice. Obviously, sometimes you don't have enough time to do that. So make sure that you read it and then also read it aloud. That really helps me to find errors.